ask Sean to make a presentation because he know much more detail than I do. So I let Sean do it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Here is the local host to present APrIGF about this conference. About the presentation status is there are 248 participants this year, including 142 male and 106 female. About the YIGF participants, there are 13 male students and 20 female. Organized and staff are 9, so the total participants of this year is around 300 people. Here is the detail about the workshop participants. So we can find there's a very good statistics about the total participant to every single workshop. For example, the day 1 March 9 protest. Excuse me. The day 1 March 9 protest privacy and private sector in Asia. There are 50 people to attend this workshop. And in day 2, the most people to attend is the WS67, includes surveillance technology could be justified. There are 129 people to attend this workshop, and we think this is very good. And about the day 3, because the status is updated right now, so we can find in March 7 threats to free expansion and challenges for reform in South Asia. There are 28 participants in this workshop. And the next page is about the website update. This year we to use the Adobe Connect to do the remote participants. So in the website we do several remote participants here. And about the photo gallery, you can see that we also to upload the website update about the photo gallery, and then we will still to working on to present more photo in our website. So about the archive of 2006 APrIGF Taipei will be available in 2 weeks, including Adobe recording and presentation downloading and session scripts. But we need secretary's help to get permission from all the speakers to upload all the speaker slides to the event website. We are very pleased to say that because we have some media sponsors. So here is the media report about this event. And the Rocky Cafe reports the conference. They have 3 reports to this to the APrIGF, and we expect more reports to this conference. Thank you.
Any question?
That's fantastic. Thank you for such a detailed report so early, even before the event's finished. So thanks a lot. Are there any questions? Raj.
then see the remote participant. The day one in the 4-1 is 13. And day one, the second one, 17. And then 23. Day two, there's a 14, 10, 25, 19, 13.
Okay, so we've got a respectable turnout. I guess where the figures are missing, they weren't recorded, like the early figures weren't recorded in some cases. Right. Okay, Raj? Okay, anything else?
Yeah, for the third day, I did notice that the number significantly dropped. Is that what do you think is the indication in terms of just the attendance? Because in the previous day there were just really large numbers. Have people left? Most people have left.
We seem to have about 200.
I mean today, yeah.
We seem to have about 200 roughly in total through the most of the event after the first day, and I think that seems to be normal. I think there are a lot of I gather there are a lot of badges that weren't collected at all. So our initial registration numbers of 600 or so weren't met. How many badges were actually distributed? Quite? Or how many people checked in?
300 plus. And the last day actually, this is a session in the morning from 9 to 10:30. But if you look at the session from 11 to 12, I checked the 4-1 is about 60 plus. And in this room is a 47. But I don't know what about the 4-2 and me. I believe it's because the people is stay in the Google social too late last night.
Ultra?
For comment regarding the panels, first of all, I noticed that there are some people that have a lot of speaking slots. I mean, there are like 3-4 times in different panels. But it struck me that, for instance, Facebook, they had altogether 6 speaking slots. And I was wondering, are they a sponsor? They are not, I learned. But I think we give them a bit too much exposure and too much marketing for their 0 rating. I mean, I was wondering, why are there six times? So it was too much, I thought. And yeah, just...
Yeah. If you support me, I will build in.
Well, I think it's important that sponsors don't buy speaking slots, right? So we need to be careful about that. But there are possibly some guidelines that the MSG could apply about anyone being a repeated panelist on many panels, and that was in the global IGF. That was a frequent complaint as well, that you'd have an individual who might be on 10 or 15 panels during the week. So I think that's something for the MSG to note, and possibly for preparations for our next meeting to apply a little bit more pressure to any certain company who seems to be getting a lot of value out of the time at APrIGF to sponsor, with no strings attached, of course.
Perhaps this could be integrated a little bit into the in the workshop evaluation process as well. We can probably, from the Secretariat, create a little bit of statistics on what's happening, so that, and give it to the evaluators, so that when they evaluate particular workshops, they can see, who are the proposed speakers, and get a sense of that information as well.
On that note, I think we have to kind of monitor that for companies such as Facebook and Google's, or these kind of platforms. I think it's inevitable to some extent that people want to hear their comments. So I mean, it's it's of course, from the other perspective, we don't want to give them too much of a like advertising opportunity, but really, I think that could be the responsibility of the workshop organizer on their content of their presentation, on their topics, because when they present on a platform, honestly, it could go either way. They could be heavily attacked, and they could be, selling their own exposure. So really, it doesn't mean that it's always a positive opportunity, or they may not have positive gains every time they go up on the stage. So I think it's just to be fair, I guess. Or
就是那个人 such as Facebook, we actually try to get a sponsorship from them, but we don't have a channel to contact person, so it is difficult to contact him asking for the sponsorships. So hopefully in MSG, if you have a channel, talk to the secretary, eventually, for example, go to Australia or other place, we have a channel to contact. And Google already sponsor APrIGF for several years already. So I think hopefully this contact channel can be remain into the secretary, and then the future organizer have a much better connection for this kind of issue.
Is there anything else? I'd like to hand over to Jiang for a YIGF update. I understand you've got something to share with us.
Hello. Okay. So this year's YIGF, we have the most number of participants with 50 participants, and they are from the Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Thailand. And we also attended more workshops this year compared to last year. And one difference is that we allowed them to choose workshops to attend this year, because last year we assigned them. So there's more, they're more free to choose where they want to go. And we also have a session on initiative planning for the future, so we want them to try to integrate the local IGF model into their own countries. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Anything else? I'd just like to say thank you very much to the hosts. I mean, I think this is a good point at which to say thanks. It's an acknowledgement of how successful the event has been, and also thanks very much to the youth organisers. Is there anything else then before we move on? Secretariat update? Or the, okay.
This is related to this year, so I just want to bring it up here so that nobody is surprised. At the closing ceremony and my closing remarks, today is actually the Global Tiger Day as well, and we are supporting the Global Tiger Initiative with WWF, and I was going to get on stage, turn around and do a selfie with everyone with 2 thumbs up. This is a campaign that we're running with WWF this year, and hopefully nobody objects to that, and I just wanted to let people know. So at the closing, my remarks, at the end of my remarks, I'll be asking you guys to do a 2 thumbs up any way you want. So people are okay with it, then you're not okay.
Oh, I'm okay. I just have a question for Professor Koo. You were talking about contact with Facebook. There was a Facebook rep who was present in my workshop twice already. Are you looking for like different levels of contact, or? I see.
The people pay the money. Because we need the money to sponsor more fellowship.
So what
all the sponsorship from outside, of the Taiwan is go to the fellowships. So if we have more money, we can have more fellow to come.
So what kind of titles are we looking for? APAC?
Can be.
Hello? Yes, sorry, this is Jennifer, to everyone who doesn't know me, or from the Secretariat team too. So just wanted to give a quick reaction and comment from the special session that we organized, because there was one workshop that was canceled very last minute, and this was on day 2 in the morning. It was the IGF intersessional work and national and regional initiatives. So we were very encouraged that there was like really good participation and really good discussion around these two really important topics, especially feeding into the global IGF and also strengthening the collaboration within the region and also inter-region. So reactions from people were saying that they want us to perhaps, and opening it up to the MSG to consider too, to keep this session as something that we would, take forward to future IGFs as well, even without someone proposing a workshop for it. So it might become something that we want to keep as a space for discussion, whether or not we keep it in a, a lecture format or a format that's more amenable to, interactive discussion like this U-shape. So just wanted to give that little comment, and also a comment from actually the IGF Secretariat. They were very happy that we actually had this session. They joined remotely, and they were very encouraged to hear a lot of really good input from the AP region. So I think just wanted to give that feedback.
Congratulations, that's great to hear. Any other reflections? I mean, this is a chance when we're all in the room together. We're coming to the end of this session about what's happened in Taipei, so let's just make some time for reflections. Kelvin and then Raj.
Hello, hi, this is Kelvin Wong from APrIGF. Hi, Ken. I think I've spoken to some of you about this. I'd just like to find out the success of the fellowship program. I think it was much better structured this time round, also thanks to Chester's leadership as well in the fellowship committee. And I think we got them into a buddy system, and we got them into especially the day 0 of APLP program. There, I think they were quite active in asking questions and igniting discussions, and indeed throughout the 3 days, they have also, I think, been asking questions and giving input. So I think that was good, and we should keep it up. Maintain the standard, the level of standard in the fellows. Yeah, that's my.
Thanks. I would echo what Calvin just said. It was great to see, and I also understand from the Philippines, a lot of them contributed their way to come here as well. So that's also quite remarkable, I think, if young people like these are able to go find their own money to come to this sort of event. So that's well done, Philippines. That's one. Number two, during the rounds of the sessions that I could get to, one comment I had quite often was that there's a lack of government people at this event. I think that's been sort of a long-standing issue for all of us for a while. So I was in a Twitter conversation earlier today, and that person suggested that if we'd actually asked a particular government, in this case the Australian government, to come and speak on cybersecurity, they would have, quite possibly. So I think one of the issues that we probably have is that when the workshop proposals come in, the proposers basically have a list of people they think they'd like to bring to the workshop, speakers and so on. They may not necessarily have the context outside of that circle, for example, into governments and other places. So I'm just wondering perhaps how we could address that, perhaps when we review the proposals and we see the gaps, and if there's some suggestions on how we could perhaps invite some specific governments or people, or whatever they may be, through our networks and contact circles and all that, and ensure, sometimes, as we all know, governments are very formal, so they need an invitation to come to this. There's budget issues and all sorts of resourcing issues. So that may be one way to try and address that issue. So I'll leave it for the MSG to consider that as well. And one last comment, I was very happy to see the great increase in gender balance this year. I think that's really well done to everyone involved. And of course our host did a stellar job, so thank you very much. And one thing that really struck me in a couple of panels that I was, in sessions I was in, there was one male and the rest were all female, so that was even great. So well done. Thanks very much. So well done to everyone.
Thanks, Raj. Great comments. Anyone else? What?
I have one experience to share with you, particularly for a visa. No matter what kind of meeting, the visa always, if you want to run this kind of organizer meeting, the visa is, you always need to expect for emergency. Because I was using a e-visa this time, and it surprised us because the e-visa is quite new from Taiwan. So on Saturday, last Saturday, there's Philippine people, they want to go to the airline. The airline to allow them to get on the plane because they don't recognize the e-visa. And luckily, I know some people in the Department of Foreign Affairs. I asked them to help, and they say they direct us go to the immigration bureau in the airport. There's a 24-hour service. So my colleague called to the airport and asked them to help. So finally, the Philippine people can get to the next plane to come to Taiwan. So that is my experience. So for the future organizer, be careful that kind of emergency always happen. And you have to find a channel with your, immigration or foreign affairs, whatever.
We have some remote comments.
Yes, so, sorry. So as Sylvia's comment, so it's actually adding to your Facebook comment, which she said it is very difficult for the MSG to see that during the evaluation process, a speaker is not confirmed during the selection process. So that's one from Sylvia, and there is another one from Mr. Raju. So he is from the civil society in India, and he is asking, can APrIGF create a model to reach people and youth in the universities at the district levels all over Asia? That's the question.
Can I see? Yeah, even for us coming from Nepal, we had issues. Even at our immigration, we were withheld, we were taken out. And luckily, I had the email, I had to go and tell them, we were withheld for an hour. And, we sat down and luckily I had the link. And I had to show them that this is the original visa. And again in Thailand as well, we were because we were not listed, Nepal is not listed in the e-visa section there. So it was for more than 1 hour we were there. So I think next time we need to consider this and work on, because it matters.
Was there any comment, just before moving on, was there any response about the involvement of students from universities? Because I understand that was something that was newly done this time, and if we could extend that in future as the person suggested, it could be very good for the participation of the students and youth. Was the Philippines, right? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yes. Sorry. It's really difficult as of this time, but we'll try to have a diverse number next time around. Right now, what I did was just try to ask the students if they want to come and if they're interested to come. What is great about that was they're really new to IG, and they really don't have any idea on what IG is. But right now they're having a little bit of awareness for that, because in our country it's not really a big thing. A lot of people there doesn't really know what IG is. Only a couple, but especially students, it's not being really relayed into the institutions. So I just gambled a little bit, and luckily I was able to bring them here.
It's a fantastic initiative. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, we were planning something, and hopefully there'll be a number from different institutions. So hopefully, if there will be an opening for a larger group, maybe we could facilitate something for that.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
Just one suggestion. I suggest we stick to the schedule of the agenda and did anything else to the AOB, so we can, because we have a long list on the table.
Yep, sure. That's you took the words right out of my mouth, Kenny. But thank you. So let's move on then to the election update. So we'll
I will take this. So we have the election committee has 3 members. One is me, Hirohata, and one is Maureen, and one is Ali. Is Ali? No. Okay. Nomination period started on 11th July, and today is the last day for accepting nomination. And could Secretariat update how many have expressed their intention to nominate? Just 3? No.
Yeah, so far we have received 3 candidates that they either self-nominated or nominated by someone, but they all accepted their candidacy. So the first one is Mr. Raju from India, the Civil Society, and the candidate 2 is a little bit long name which I don't know how to pronounce, I'm sorry. And so he is from Sri Lanka, ISAC Sri Lanka, that they're organizing the IGF Sri Lanka this year, and he is from the government stakeholder groups, and then we have Chester, which is our current vice chair, so he decided to run again, so he is from Hong Kong Civil Society, representing as a Hong Kong chapter. Yeah.
Thank you. So far a good number of candidates, I think. So whether a short listing is needed or not will be decided after the closure of nomination period. Here we propose that the interactive interview on next Wednesday, the 3rd of August, the MSG meeting. And of course we will have online tool for Q&A. This may be the same tool as last year. Okay, could Yanis tell more about that?
Yes, so on Monday, all the candidates' profile will be published. If no further, selection process before that, so it will be the profile, same as last year, and then below there will be a comment platform that everyone can just type the name and emails, and then you can make a comment or question to each candidate. And the candidates can subscribe to this platform so that they can receive the questions immediately when one make a comment. Yeah.
So one of the proposal is the next Wednesday MSG will have
yes, so next Wednesday is a regular bi-weekly MSG meeting. So I have confirmed, I will confirm with the candidates whether they are able to join, and one of them already confirmed, so I'll be asking the others as well. So we hopefully will have the MSG members to have interactive questions sections with the candidates directly during the bi-weekly meeting.
Is it okay for all the MSG members to invite the candidates to the next MSG meeting to have an interview? So even if a part of them cannot join the next Wednesday meeting, some of the candidates.
Are you asking a question? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I'm asking a question. No, I'm asking a question to the MSG. Whether we are comfortable if some of the candidates cannot make a call.
Actually, just a note that when I opened the nominations announcement, I have stated that we will invite them to the 3rd of August meeting. So, I mean, I basically will assume they shall be okay for that if they didn't say no, but I will double check that.
I think if they're provided with that opportunity, then it's incumbent on the candidates to advise if they can't make it, if they want to request something else. I don't think it's really for the MSG to initiate a concern about that. The opportunity has been created.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
That's the end.
That's it? Okay. Any questions about the election process? Okay. Well, may the finest candidate win. All right, so we will move on now. I had a placeholder here for a discussion, and this is really a discussion that I'd like to initiate with the MSG about our current levels of activity on the MSG. Sometimes, to be honest, I feel that we all, as MSG members, leave a great deal of work to be covered by the able and active Secretariat. Really, Yanis and Jennifer and Maggie do an absolutely fantastic job, in my view, beyond the call of duty in many instances. They pick up and they run with things, and I think it's if we think about the APrIGF as something that is going to be continually improving, that we're going to have an obligation to keep doing this possibly for the next 10 years. I really think it would be nice for us all to recognise that the MSG itself needs some improvement in terms of activity, and probably to some extent a bit of formality about committees and processes and expectations. And so I'd just like to, without being critical of anyone, because I'm certainly an imperfect chair and MSG member myself, I'd just like to open that discussion and hope that there's some energy for thinking about how we could just improve the functioning and make it more sustainable into a 10-year future. So any comments or responses at all, please?
Sorry. Yes. Actually, I mentioned the issue 2 days ago in the session, in one of the sections. And to operate a multi-stakeholder model require a sustainable plan, how to maintain your organization to be maintain a future sustainability. So we're not only looking for future sustainability, but also looking for very short-term sustainability. So I suppose we should break down into different operational levels, such as we have operational committee or financial committee, who we will be sharing some more burden from the secretary. I think that would be much helpful and also increase the responsibility of the members. That's my suggestion.
This is Izumi speaking. So I think I'm very much in line with Kenny's suggestion, and I don't know if there's somewhere written the role and expectations and the activities of the MSG, and it might be worth, if it's there, it might be worth like giving it a reminder, and the minimum absolute activities or responsibilities to make that clear, in addition to specific roles that Kenny has suggested. That might actually help, like all the members give the minimum contribution at least.
We're operating quite informally. There is a little bit of documentation here, but again, it's part of I think professionalising to keep improving.
Yeah, I think we had a discussion earlier, in one of our meetings where we said one of the things we could do is to sort of formalize the number of years, sort of terms for members, so that it's clear, and maybe a way, because at the moment I think the model is very open, so it's sort of really a voluntary model. So I guess that's the thing, that's one of the decisions we can make, is that do we want to make it a little bit more formal in the sense of having a term for members, so that you know when you begin and you know when to end. And it also opens up participation from new members. So I guess that's one idea.
Edmund here. So I think those are all good ideas, and creating committees to so people can focus their work a little bit more. In terms of the obligations or responsibilities, there is actually a framework, I believe, that we put together last year in terms of voting rights. So there is a little bit of a distinction between those who are participating more actively and those who are not. So in the chair election, like the chair's elections, for example, those who are non-active will not be counted, basically. So that's one level of distinction, and perhaps taking into consideration the committees, then we can have a slightly different level of distinction as well, so that people are more involved in the whole process. Another thing that I think Jen and I talked a little bit about is perhaps creating better linkage with the NRI and the global IGF initiative as well. That may allow us to enhance the participation at our own MSG. So those are.
Thanks, Ed. Were there any other suggestions? Let's try and wrap this up because we are running out of time.
Right. I'm Satish from India. I think any proposal to improve the involvement is fine. But I was wondering if this is also case for something like working groups for specific thematic areas, where people could contribute without an organizational commitment, which is actually quite heavy. If it fits into my area of expertise, I might be able to better contribute if it's a thematic working group kind of a thing, which can be set up from time to time and dismantled from time to time.
If there's an interest in this topic, could I ask for some volunteers who might get together in a small group and look at how we could just take this just to the next step? And I'm not saying it needs to be a huge exercise or with any particular goal, but it needs more consideration, I think, than we've got time for here. So who would be interested in continuing? So we've got 4. Chad, Kenny, Maureen, Gunilla, Arun. Fantastic. Okay, thanks. Look, we are running out of time. I'm sorry to be rushing through now, but the next up is Paul. So we're going to be hearing about the 2017 preps for the next APrIGF. Thanks, Paul.
Hello, everyone. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Paul Schindler. I'm International and Government Engagement Rep for AUDA, the .au domain administrator, and we've been lucky enough to be selected as hosts for next year's meeting. I didn't have a slide deck prepared. There will be a very pretty video presentation as part of the Olympic-style handover in a couple of hours. I'll do my best. I'll be wearing native costume. Look, the essential details are up there, and thank you, Fianis, for knocking together a very quick slide. Our proposal, which has been accepted, proposed a meeting later in the year than is typical for the regional IGF. When we lodged the application, the reasoning behind that was that the Asia Pacific ICANN meeting was going to be around about that time, a week after. And that would allow people, there would be synergies there where people could swing through Melbourne to wherever else they were going, if it was Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, wherever. As it turns out, it's going to be Abu Dhabi. There is no way in anyone's mind that Melbourne is anywhere on the way to Abu Dhabi. But that said, as it currently stands domestically, our priority, our other commitments limit us in terms of how far we can move the meeting forward. We have other events that we're hosting and other events that we're organising. We're aware that October is later than people expect, but July in Melbourne is not a place you want to be. It will be wet, it will be cold, it will be terrible. It's any of you that have visited Paul in Brisbane, it's not like that. So we have the venue we've proposed, the Park Hyatt, is an excellent facility. It is co-located with a couple of university campuses, which obviously is key for engaging youth IGF. There are a number of hotels that are not nearly as expensive as that in the immediate vicinity. Melbourne is a good place to come because budget airlines, I appreciate it's a longer flight for many participants than they would typically undertake, but it's serviced by a whole bunch of budget airlines from the region, so it's not that bad. And also it's our home. It's Outer's home turf. We're used to managing conferences. We're used to doing a very popular and successful AU-IGF at that venue. I just wanted to raise it with the MSG because I acknowledge that our proposal has been approved, but there might be some concerns about how late in the year the event is. And I acknowledge that the linkage between the regional IGF and ICANN in the region is not as strong as it was, but we still propose to keep it at around about that time. Preparation-wise, it's well under control. The venue is booked. The venue has been tentatively booked, not confirmed simply because I wanted to come to this meeting and see how everything ran, and I get a better idea because looking at a job spec or a function spec is one thing, but to actually be at the venue gives me a better idea of exactly the expectations we need to meet. And we would have it confirmed in the next couple of weeks. We haven't. Outer has made a commitment going forward. Our board has made a commitment to, if needs be, single-handedly host the event and facilitate it. We would forego our annual Australian IGF to have this essentially as a replacement. But obviously, that would not be the case in practice when we get closer to the date. There will be other partners that will assist us. But I'm just happy to open it to Q&A, really, Paul, if people have concerns or questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. So, a few, Quo?
Ask, the ICANN meeting, what day is that? 28th of October. Where? Abu Dhabi. That will be quite tough. And another one is, what about IGF? Because that is also very possible. IGF is always on the third quarter. So these two meetings, we have to be careful.
First week of December. It's later this year.
No, but we're looking 2017, which is why I shrugged, because honestly,
nobody knows. Correct, nobody knows. Jerome.
Thank you. Personally, I like the dates. I think it's okay. But I think that if we're looking at the students and youth IGF program, it might come in like just before the year-end exams or something. Why I know this is because we are trying to get youth to go to the ICANN meeting in Hyderabad, and then the sign-up rate is not as good as it is because of the dates. So we are early November for Hyderabad, and students aren't signing up very much because they all say that they're going to have exams. So I just thought to flag this a little bit.
Could I take that as a point on notice? Because obviously domestic local students will make up the vast majority of the youth IGF. We aim to support some that will possibly come from the region as best we can, but it will mainly be local students. So I'll take that as a point on notice, a very good one, to see whether that works. From my own experience many years ago, you may be lucky. It might be earlier November that they're concerned about, but I will certainly take that on notice. There is some slight flexibility for us. We could possibly move the meeting to similar sorts of dates in September, but I think that's betwixt and between. We're neither here nor there. You're just in the middle, in a gap. So I like the idea of making it okay, it's not geographically a convenient swing by, but it could be a block of events. And I've been having discussions with the APTLD board about, and they're certainly interested in terms of co-hosting a meeting either in Melbourne at that time, or if they want to appeal to the Arab states, in Abu Dhabi at around about that time. So everybody's looking to stack that, and yes, it becomes a very busy 2 to 3 weeks, but at least it's all in one block, and most of us appreciate that if there's fewer trips we take and it's just one big swing, that might be advantageous. But I will get back to you about term dates, particularly for Australian and New Zealand students.
Edmund here. So it does seem a little bit late in the year, especially because it is true that the IGF, we won't know for quite some time before we will know when it will happen next year. I guess the general feeling may be that at least we want to be before the global IGF, especially with the NRI development. It may be useful to imagine that there's some input that can be gathered and put into the global process. So that is one particular, I guess, consideration that we might want to think about. So September, even though it's maybe somewhere in the middle, if that's possibly, my feeling is the earlier the better. That also flows into the 2018, because once you have something so late, and then it's really half a year, then we're getting into the next, the 2018 event, and that kind of throws the cycle off a little bit as well, and it may impact the workshop numbers. It may impact the interest to come. So if they're packed a little bit more closer together. So just I guess those 2 points for consideration.
Thank you, Edmund. Thank you, Paul. That's fantastic to know that things are on track, and we look forward to the video and the dancing this afternoon. But we'd better move on to the last item on the agenda, which is the synthesis document. So I think Jennifer's going to take us away with that.
Hello, this is Jennifer again, and I've been told that we have 5 minutes to talk about this, so I'm going to be very brief with the intro. Yes, maybe. Okay, so just going to go ahead. As Yanis told everyone a little earlier, we've received 84 comments, which is actually really encouraging and a big leap from last year. Really what I wanted to get a sense from, especially from the drafting committee, is we do have 10 minutes in the closing plenary to present regarding the document. Now obviously we won't have any kind of final document to present. That's not even in consideration in the beginning. But what I was going to see is if we would like to present on the process of what's going to happen next and who would be presenting. Personally, I was thinking maybe we would open it up to the drafting committee for them to be able to present that, but I mean, that is really up to the MSG drafting committee what they feel most comfortable with. And one more consideration, we do have a proposed timeline that I did flash really quickly during the town hall session the first day. I do note that when we were drafting the timeline, it was actually pretty tight, keeping in mind really to give most of the time for public comment. We're going to have a second public comment after we synthesize all the input from this event. Now, is that going to be shown on today? Now, also bearing in mind that there is continuous, really good input from participants at the event and also remotely, I was wondering if the drafting committee was thinking it would be a good idea to not cut off the opportunity to put the comments into the draft 1 document, give a few more days for people to kind of think about what happened during the event, maybe as they're traveling home, for a few more days for them to input something that they want in the document before we take this input and synthesize it into the draft 2 for public comment. Right now, yes, thank you, Yanis. Right now, the original timeline was August 5th for the draft 2. What we might suggest is to give that extra few days or that week for people to continue to put input into the draft 1, And then on August 5th, the Secretariat, along with, of course, the drafting committee, take that away, synthesize that into draft 2, so we'd probably be pushing the timeline back 1 week. If that is a good idea, or if we have any reactions really quickly to that. Originally, the September deadline was envisaged because we weren't really sure when the the IGF this year would be, but it turns out this year it's it's much later, and also there's no deadline for the NRIs to give their input. The IGF Secretariat has mentioned, given that a lot of the NRIs are having their event later on this year, they didn't want to specify any kind of deadline for us to give our input in. So just want to open it up for quick reactions around the room.
Thank you, Jennifer, for the opportunity to present this afternoon. I really think that it should actually be the Secretariat. I think that Chat and I sort of did our bit in moderating and generating those, those 84, assisting to generate those 84 comments. But I think too that there's actually sort of there's a lot of organisational stuff that's actually involved in this, and you guys have actually been basically coordinating that, and so I think that when it comes down to it, you know exactly when you want things done, and you just have to call us together.
No, thank you, Jennifer. I think it's fine for the Secretary to present it, so that it's sort of exactly what you would like to tell the participants. I think it's a good idea to have a few more days for public comment. I'm thinking, because I'm buddying with the human rights rapporteurs, for example, they've got good reports there. There could be some, and also I would imagine that the workshop organizers are writing their reports. There could be synthesizing some of those recommendations. So if you can mention that when you talk about the synthesis document, that would be a good source of input. So yeah, I'm fine, I think, with opening that up.
Oh yeah. Well, just one thing. One of the sections in the questions that I happened to look at it this morning, and it was a question about what success stories, do we have of using ICT in relation to development and stuff, and there was actually one. And I was sort of thinking, surely there must be other success stories. So if you can encourage that and sort of get some.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jennifer. Sorry for rushing you. Thanks, everyone. I think we're really coming to the point where we need to hand the room over to the first session of the afternoon. So, a quick call for any other business. I'm sorry that we didn't even have time to do self-introductions here, but anyone who doesn't know anyone, please rectify that before the end of the day. And thank you all again for being here, and to all MSG members for the contributions that you've made. And we'll see you back in the sessions, but also online on the next meeting, which I think is next Wednesday. So see you there. Thank you.